screen. So let me try doing it. Just a second. Can you please confirm that you can see my screen? Jamila, is it right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Very good. So tomorrow I will be talking to you about the World Scout Jamboree program. And you might ask me why, because every World Scout Jamboree is different, which is true, but also not true, because there are some criteria, there are some parts of the program which are mandatory for every World Scout Jamboree. There are topics which must be there. And today we will talk about them all. And if you haven't been to a World Scout Jamboree yet, I'm sure you will be very excited by the program.
Okay, thank you.
Because it is very interesting and very educational and a lot of fun. So let's just quickly remember what the World Scout Jamboree is. Those of you who attended the previous session given by João Armando, I'm sure you know that it's a largest physical regular event of WASM organized by World Scouting, which gathers up to 40,000 people from all over the world, different NSOs, and it's an incredible opportunity. That is an incredible event to see how diverse World Scouting is and how different but also similar it is in different countries of the world. So the World Scout Jamboree is, first of all, an educational event. It includes a wide variety of activities, and it also places an importance on our Scout everyday life, interaction on the campsite. I will remind you that the participants of the Jamboree must be from 14 to 17 years old. And if you are 18 years old or older, you can take part as volunteers, as the international service team. It is called IC. Can I just please ask you to mute yourself? Camila, if you don't mind, you can also mute people.
Yeah, I'm amazing. I order, actually, I ask everyone request very humbly to keep your microphones off. Actually, people are joining on the way, so that is why when they just join, okay, sorry.
So if you are 18 years old or older, you can be a volunteer, you can be a leader of the patrol, you could be part of the contingent management team. So it depends on your involvement in your National Scout organization. The World Scout Jamboree takes place every 4 years in a different country, and you can write me in the chat where and when we will have the next World Scout Jamboree, who will be the fastest one, when and where is the next World Scout Jamboree. You can write your answer in the chat. Yeah, of course, Jude Wang, you're the first one, Korea 2023. Yes, this is correct. So it is very exciting. It is quite soon, to be honest, and I am personally very excited about the next World Scout Jamboree, which will happen in 2023 in Korea. Okay, so let's start and talk a bit more about the Jamboree and the program. As I said, Jamboree is not only about fun. The participants of the Jamboree should develop themselves as individuals. They become better citizens of their communities. They make new friends from all over the world. They also take responsibility for promoting Scout values, for promoting peace. And it is also, this event is also an opportunity to develop Scouting, to improve the quality of Scouting, to spread the image of Scouting, and to keep the Scout method relevant to our modern world, the modern society. So young people during this event, they are supported by adults, by their leaders. They take individual or group activities. They develop themselves physically, emotionally, intellectually, socially, and spiritually, adhering to our Scout promise and the Scout law. And I have for you a little quote from Lord Baden-Powell, which is about his impressions after the 5th World Scout Jamboree. He says that, "I want you all to preserve this badge of the Jamboree, which is on your uniform. Keep it and treasure it, and it will be a reminder of the happy times you have had in camp. And it will remind you of the many friends to whom you have held out the hand of friendship." So Baden-Powell as well mentions this dimension of friendship, of diversity of scouting all over the world, and that the memories of this event will last for a lifetime for all of the participants. So as for the program of the Jamboree itself, as I said in the beginning, it is a bit different every time, but there are some common criteria, some common rules for it, because there is a document that is called the Guidelines for the Hosting of the World Scout Jamboree. And this document describes all the requirements that the host organization, for example, the US last time, next time it will be Korea. So these rules, these requirements that the host countries need to fulfill while preparing and running the event. So there is a short outline of this program and some components that must be included, because the main idea is to keep in mind that the World Scout Jamboree is not only fun, it is an educational event, and we will talk about it on the next slide. So the draft schedule of the program is prepared very much in advance. It should be presented to the World Scout Committee at least 2 years before the World Scout Jamboree. So now, actually, for Korea. I can show you here to give you an example of the criteria. So, for example, the program activities, they should be based on the Scout method. They should address global issues that are relevant to the age. They should be different and cover all the dimensions of personal development. That should be interesting, but also educational, and they should be modern. So again, interesting and corresponding to the modern needs of young people. Here are the examples of the areas that should be, or activities that should be included in the program. For example, an area focused on global development issues. Those of you who have been to a Jamboree might know and remember that it's the Global Development Village. That's how we call this area, which is focusing on global development issues. We will talk about this a bit more. Also, activities encouraging to learn more about other religions. We know that there is a faith and beliefs zone, there is cultural day. So that's also, it should be included anyway in every Jamboree program, regardless of the country. Subcamp life, of course, as well. Also opportunities to practice decision-making, community involvement, opportunities for adventure in the national environment. So some cool, fun things, we will talk about them as well. Activities about cultures and also free time. That's also a must, to give the participants free time to mix, to meet, to find new friends, to exchange Facebook contact numbers, etc. Let's have a quick look for you to have an idea, a visualization of the program. This is the example of the program from the World Scout Jamboree in Japan, which happened in 2015. So as you can see, there is an on-site program, which means that all the activities are happening inside the territory of the Jamboree, and off-site program, meaning the participants can take a bus or walk to a different place. So this is the program happening outside the Jamboree area. So if we look at this table, for example, Global Development Village, Culture Module, Science, they happen on site, so at the Jamboree, but community involvement, nature and peace, they happen outside the Jamboree. So the participants in Japan, they took a bus and they would go to a different place. And the water was both inside and on-site and off-site. So there are also some examples of free time activities, sub-cam life, and ceremonies, but we will talk about all of this in a minute. Again, this is just an example from Japan, but more or less the concept is the same. There are activities happening on site. There might be some activities happening off site as well. And this is another example for you, an example of a daily schedule from Japan as well, because it was not that long ago and it was easy to find. And as you can see, the start was quite early, right? 6 o'clock, that was the start of the day for everyone, breakfast at 7:30, then the program would start at 9, and then the whole day of activities, lunch, dinner, evening activity, and at 11, the participants would go to bed. Let's have a look now at this concept of the Global Development Village. As I mentioned, it is part of the criteria, it is part of the mandatory Jamboree program. So this is an area focused on global development issues. For example, as you can see the pictures from different Jamborees, it can be some topics about human rights, about environment, about peace, health, and this whole area is designed to help Scouts to recognize global issues that are related to these themes, these topics, and these initiatives. And also this area encourages Scouts to think how they can contribute to helping fighting these issues, for example, poverty or inequality. Usually there are a lot of partners who are present at the Jamboree, for example, UNICEF, UNESCO, right, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or United Nations Children's Fund. Other partners of World Scouting, they might be present and they can give lectures or they can present some activities for the participants. So just imagine a huge area made of different points, yes, different little areas with different activities, so the participants can walk around and learn about different things. Another area, which is usually quite big, it's a faith and beliefs zone. And as you can guess by its name, it is an area where you can learn about different religions. You can understand the importance of faith. You can learn about different beliefs, different religions in the world. You can reflect on your own experience about your religion or your beliefs. And again, this whole territory, it is usually made of sectors. So for example, there is a little tent or an area in a big tent about Muslim religion or about Christianity or about Buddhism, etc. So many religions, many different beliefs are presented in this area, and Scouts can walk around, can talk, can do some religious practices and deepen their understanding of the similarities and also differences among different faiths through dialogue, of course. So that's another very interesting zone, which is about major world religions. Another program component, which is also interesting, is community involvement. And usually, if it happens, if it takes place at the Jamboree, usually it's an off-site program, meaning the participants, as I said, take a bus or walk and explore the local community. So this community service, it connects participants and the local community. So that's the way for Scouts to contribute to the local community. And also it helps Scouts to achieve their personal growth through this. So it can be in Japan, for example, this is a picture from Japan with a big wa sign. That's when the participants visited several schools, elementary schools, high schools in the prefecture around the Jamboree. And it was an opportunity for the Scouts to have exchanges with the pupils, with the students of the schools, the local community, and also for the students to learn more and to talk to Scouts. So that was an interesting activity, which allowed to enhance this communication and establish some understanding and deepen the knowledge about the local culture and the local people, and to have exchanges and build maybe some projects in the future. So that's how the community component is realized. The next one is probably one of the most favorite ones, usually for children. It's a big thing. It's a big component of the World Scout Jamboree as a whole, because part of the goals of the World Scout Jamboree is to learn about other cultures. So culture is a big thing, and you can experience it every day at the Jamboree, because there are so many people around you from so many different cultures. You can usually it is organized via a cultural day. At the Jamboree, one of the days is usually called a cultural day, cultural exchange day. It is a program that is devoted to this experience of cultural diversity. So all the contingents are usually asked to bring to the Jamboree their local food, their cuisine, to cook something, to bring costumes, and the whole Jamboree, all the campsites, they turn into a big carnival where everyone can you just imagine walking around? And here you have a group, sorry, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. And here you have a group from Finland, and here you have a group from South Africa, and here's the group from Indonesia, and there a group from Japan, and you just walk around. It's like a little world trip, right? You just walk around different groups and you can try their cuisine, try their food, you can see their costumes, you can learn some basics of their language, you can see some songs and dances. So that's a really, really cool thing. There is usually a big food festival where you can try different food. There is sometimes also a show at the main arena, at the main stage. There might be, I don't remember, I think in Japan they didn't have it, but they had it in the US, in the USA during the Jamboree in 2019. There was a big cultural celebration at the arena, but we will talk about it a bit more, about it a bit later. So that's how the cultural day happens. So every participant is asked to bring something from home to the Jamboree specifically for this cultural day, which is, I think this is really cool. And this is the experience you will never experience anywhere else, just at the World Scout Jamboree, when you have 40,000 people from different countries. That's a really cool thing. Another component, which is also a very important one, is peace. And as you know, us Scouts, we are messengers of peace. This is part of the Jamboree program, to learn more about peace, to understand the importance of world peace, to also reflect and cultivate your own ideas about peace, think what you can do to improve the situation, what actions you can take as a messengers of peace. So, for example, it can be also presented by some partners of World Scouting, like KAICID, Dialogue International Center, or just Messengers of Peace, WASM program component. Or it can be, as you can see on one of the pictures, there is a peace forum, which was held in Japan. And below there is a picture from the memorials, because in Japan, it was a big thing, because part of the program, part of the offsite program, scouts visited Hiroshima and Nagasaki memorials. So it was a good opportunity to see the impact of the lack of peace and to learn more about the World War II, to reflect again how to contribute to world peace. So that was also a big part of the program, visiting those memorials of Nagasaki and Hiroshima cities. The next part, which is also exciting and very interesting, is adventure in the natural environment. And as you can see on these pictures, it is a very entertaining, very fun thing to do. Usually it is an off-site program, but again, it depends on the country, it depends on the capabilities of the area and opportunities you can have there. So for example, in Japan, there was a big module where you could do those kayaks and do the water activities. Or there was this cycle route. It was also in Japan, I think. In the US, there were zip lines. So lots of different extreme sports, lots of different activities in the natural environment, meaning, yeah, usually you would take a bus or you would walk quite a long way and you would do some extreme sports. So that's also fun, and it improves your physical development, your emotional, mental capacities as well. So that's part of the Jamboree program as well. And every country comes up with something cool, something interesting, something really, really fascinating to do as part of these adventures in the natural environment. Last but not least is a free time, because free time at the Jamboree, as I said, it is also very important, because free time allows the participants, first of all, to do the activities they want, because usually the subcamps and the groups are divided in between the activities. So sometimes you can go where you want, but sometimes you can't. For example, today you have an offsite water program. So you just go and take a bus and you go to the sea and you swim, or you go to the beach or something else. So the program is mandatory sometimes. So this free time allows you to choose yourself what you want to do. And you can go and cook something, buy food at the food hall, or you can go into the Global Development Village and do some quizzes or talk to some partners. Or you can just stay in your subcamp and just talk to your friends. That's another opportunity that free time gives you, just to enjoy the new friends that you got at the World Scout Jamboree and spend more time with them, people from different countries. And those of you who attended the webinar from Joao remember that that story of a guy from Austria and a guy from the Philippines or something, and they just kept their friendship for a lifetime, and they went and visited each other. So those friendships are built as well during this free time, when you can have enough time just to do what you want, to walk around with friends, to talk to them, to rest, and so on. So this is very important. Another component, a different thing from the whole Jamboree program, is a subcamp life, because as scouts, of course, subcamp life is a very large, very big component of the Jamboree program, because the scouts, the participants of the event, they spend most of their time at the sub camp because they sleep there, they eat there, sometimes they have their evening program there, they have some free time, some rest there as well. So it is their home for the whole Jamboree. And again, for subcamp programs, there is usually a subcamp program. So specifically for your subcamp, like this is the evening of the campfire, or this is the evening of folk songs and dances from the cultures, etc. And again, usually groups are encouraged to bring some songs, to bring some activities for this subcamp campfire. Part of the life is cooking, of course, so groups cook for themselves in their subcamp. They usually are provided with equipment, camp equipment by the host country, and they cook their food. They receive products and they cook food according to the menu. That's also what happens in the subcamp, and that's also part of the learning, part of the skills that they develop at the World Scout Jamboree. Two more things that I want to mention. One is ceremonies, because we talked about the program, we talked about the subcamp life, but also another big chunk, another big piece is the stage, right? The arena of the Jamboree. Usually it's a huge thing. Can you just imagine finding a place where 40,000 people can sit or stand? So usually the host country builds a huge arena, a huge stage. And there are several things that usually happen. Of course, there is an opening and closing ceremony in the beginning and in the end of the event. So for example, the opening ceremony, it includes this presentation of national flags, as you can see on the picture. So usually during the opening, the masters of ceremony, they just read the list of all the countries who are attending the Jamboree, and there are flags walking on the stage. That's a very mighty event, very mighty activity. So usually you have the ceremony, your flag is showed on the screen, and there is a person carrying your flag as well. So that's a very cool festivity, cool ceremony. That's part of the opening, but of course there are speeches, there are some welcoming words from the host country or countries, there is the speech from the chairperson of the World Scout Committee usually as well, etc. The closing ceremony usually includes the passing of the World Scout flag from the host organization to the hosts of the next Jamboree. That's also a very emotional thing. So for example, during the Jamboree in the USA, the organizers gave the WASM flag to the representatives of the Korea Scout Association, because they will be hosting the next Scout Jamboree. So this is part of the closing ceremony. And usually there are songs, dances, there are fireworks sometimes as well, very big, very mighty ones. So that's also a very memorable, very emotional moment when the Jamboree comes to its end. Apart from these two, there might be other events happening on the stage, which are not mandatory, but sometimes it depends on the program. So this part can be flexible. So there might be, as I said, this cultural celebration. In the USA, there was a unity show, which was in the end of the cultural day. And it was about the Jamboree hosts, their cultures, so USA, Mexico, and Canada. And there was also a band performance. There were some Mexican folk dancers. So that was an example of what other ceremonies might happen at the Jamboree, except for opening and closing. There might be also an interreligious ceremony. So this is an opportunity for scouts to pray on the stage, to learn more about religions, to wish for peace. That also might happen at the main arena as well. So again, just as part of the ceremonies. But it's not like every evening there is a ceremony, there is something on the main stage. Usually 3-4 times, and that's all, not every day, because there are so many things that you should do during the Jamboree. And sometimes the stage is quite a long way. Please mute yourself, thank you. Because I remember, for example, that in Japan in 2015, I was the unit leader for my delegation from Ukraine. And from our subcamp to the main stage, we had to walk 2 kilometers. So it takes 2 kilometers, so approximately like, yeah, half an hour to get to the main stage, to the main arena from your subcamp. So it also depends where your contingent is, because the territory of the Jamboree is huge. And the last thing I would like to mention, which might be interesting for you, is the adult program. Because as we said, the participants of the Jamboree have their own program, young people from 14 to 17, but also there is an adult program for those who work at the Jamboree, those volunteers who come as international service team. So a big part of adult people at the Jamboree, 18 plus, they are volunteers helping the host country organize the activities, organize the program. So for example, you come to, let's say, take part in the registration, and you spend a lot of days, a lot of time helping the registration team when the participants arrive, then when the participants leave, etc. Or you can be a bodyguard, you can be a lifeguard during the water activities. But usually every person has a day off. So every volunteer, adult volunteer, should have a day off at the Jamboree. So that's a free, or several ones, sometimes, depends on your role. So usually you have some agenda, you have some program, what you can do during your day off. For example, in the USA in 2019, there were different activities. There was a cinema, there was a gym, there was a music tent in the adult campsite. There was also Finnish sauna, there were yoga classes, there was a rainbow cafe, some sport tournaments like basketball or soccer or rugby, or some participants can join sometimes the off-site program, so they can go and do some water activities outside the campsite, etc. So again, usually the organizers of the Jamboree remember also about the adults, about the volunteers who come to work, and they have their day off and they can do something fun and learn something new as well. So that's also an important component of the Jamboree program, because everyone is scouting, can have fun and should have fun and should also learn and grow. So that was a very, not a very short one, but an okay overview of the Jamboree program. Please let me know if you have any questions about the Jamboree program, because I know you will have many different topics in the future about the Jamboree in general. And I wish to all of you to attend at least once, or better twice or 3 times, a World Scout Jamboree, because definitely that's a very memorable experience for everyone, regardless of your age. Thank you very much. Jamila, back to you.
Thank you. It was really awesome, and thank you very much for your contribution for this webinar series with 25 topics. So ladies and gentlemen, it is Ms. Nika Gorovska, connecting from Ukraine, member of the World Scout Committee. So you all should be very happy today, because a lecturer from the World Scout Committee is very rare for us. So I am so happy to invite our guest speaker, Ms. Nika Gorovska, for this. So now it is the time to ask few questions from her. I think that you can unmute your microphone yourself and can ask, or you can raise hand, then we call your name. Thank you. General questions. Thank you. One has raised hand, Scout sharing. Do you have any question?
Yes, sir. I have a question that how many scout members are selected from one nation to represent in Jamboree?
Yes, thank you for your question. It depends on the country. Usually there is a maximum amount which is told by the host country every time. It changes every Jamboree. So the minimum amount, there is no minimum amount, but the maximum amount, I think it was 3,000 per country or something in the USA. I don't remember, but every time, every Jamboree, this changes. And then it depends on your country. So usually the international commissioner announces an open call for the participants and the contingent team and the adult volunteers to help. And everyone fills in a form or sends a letter to the international commissioner, and then the national board or the international commissioner with the president of the NSO see how many participants are willing to take part in the Jamboree. And there are different sizes. A contingent might be at 10 people, but it might also be 1,000 people. Does it answer your question?
Thank you very much. And we have Mr. Slim. Please ask your question.
Hi, all. Thank you, Nika, for this presentation. Thank you for giving me the possibility to talk on behalf of the Tunisian contingent. I just want to ask, what are the possibilities to make a contingent participate actively in the program of the Jamboree? That means, how can we plan an extra activities that maybe other scouts and other adults may participate in?
Thank you for the question, Slim. Well, usually the program of the Jamboree is announced very much in advance. The contingents receive the bulletins from the host organization. Like, for example, now we all received the second bulletin from Korea about their Jamboree. So there might be 10, 15 bulletins, little documents, little sets of papers describing everything about the Jamboree, including the program. So you and your participants who are going to the Jamboree, who are registered, they can see in advance and plan what they want to do, when they want to do. As I said, usually there is a program that is given to you, so some mandatory things that you need to do at this day or that day, but also there is free time, there are activities you can choose, so you will have plenty of time to look at this program in advance and decide what you and your young people want to do.
Thank you. And the next question, Mr. Danish.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Nika, for the presentation. My question is, what are the possibility for the individual participant? Like, if the country is taking the scout for representing the country, and if anyone wanted to go individually, can it be possible? And that's how.
Yes, thank you. So there is always a contingent per country. So all the people who are participating from one country, they go together as a contingent. They register together as a contingent. Usually there should be a contingent leader. So the main person in your country who is responsible for, let's say, NSO of Tonga, to Algeria or Tunisia to take part in this event. And then there are young people, there are leaders, there are volunteers, so they all present a big contingent. So if you want to take part in the Jamboree, you should register with your international commissioner to be part.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sana Sultan.
Thank you so much, sir. This is Miss Sana Sultan from Pakistan, and I'm just representing Pakistan right now. Ma'am Nika, thank you so much for this wonderful discussion and this wonderful information to giving us. I just want to ask that you just told us about just global development village. In that point, I just wanted to know about the encourage how to fight. Can you just repeat it? How to fight? What do you mean by that? How to fight for which what? Can you repeat it?
Did you say, Sana, how to fight?
Encourage to how to fight. It's the type of
To
global
fight
development
global
village.
issues. Yes, global development
Global
village.
development village. Yes, ma'am.
Global development village
Can
is
you
an
just explain it again? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Can you explain that?
So the Global Development Village is an area focused on global issues. For example, poverty or human rights or peace or health. And Scouts are able to go there to listen to some partners, to some key lecturers, to take part in some activities, to learn of different ways how to tackle, how to contribute to world peace or how to contribute to fighting poverty. They can also learn about different projects that Scouts around the world do to fight inequality or to stand for human rights. So that's a huge area, a big tent with many different little groups, little activities that you can do. You can walk around and learn about different global issues, global problems nowadays.
Thank you, and keep everyone your video on to take a group photo. I think that Archana or someone has raised hand. Any more question? If not, we can go for the end. If
question was about the currency using in Jamboree. It's like, can we use our native currency or is it of Korea's?
That's a very good question, actually. So the currency depends on the country. Usually there are some international currency used as well, and it depends on the country. I don't remember the exact situation with Korea, but yes, the currency will be Korea national currency, and then, for example, US dollar or European euro, for example. I don't know now, but it is also announced in advance. At every Jamboree, the currency they announced in advance, so you can prepare and change the money from your local currency to the Jamboree currency.
Thank you very much. So now I invite Mr. Said Akbar Risa from Bangladesh to appreciate our speaker in few words. Unmute mic.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Bangladesh. Scout greetings. Thanks to Nika, such a nice briefing about Jamboree. Everybody should know this about the Jamboree. I think youngs, they should come to know what is Jamboree. And thanks, Shamila brother, arranged such a wonderful arrangement.
Thank you very much.
Every
Mr.
time
Said. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, this Said Akbar Risa, he has met Lady Baden-Powell, and he has given his hand also for Lady Baden-Powell, a senior member. I invite him for every program. From Bhutan, Ms. Sonam.
Hello, greetings from Bhutan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and Kuzangpula from Bhutan. So I don't have any question. I just want to say thank you so much. So on behalf of my team from Bhutan, And on my own behalf, I would like to sincerely appreciate Ms. Nika Gorovska for your time and consideration. Thank you, amazing, and it's inspiring. So thank you so
very
much for your
Now,
wonderful lesson.
yeah, now
Great
the
for sorry. So